The first time I walked into the Crowfield Marksmen Club, I wore a navy sweatshirt, jeans, and the boots I kept from deployment. Not the polished kind, not for ceremony. Just worn, quiet leather built to survive. Same as me. The clubhouse air was thick with linseed oil and gunpowder. Targets lined the far wall, tight groupings framed like trophies. The laughter paused when the door clicked behind me. Not for welcome. Not even curiosity. Just the kind of silence a room gives when it doesn't expect you, and doesn't want to. I signed my name without looking up. Evelyn Carter. Competitor 27. They gave me lane 9. Far edge. Wind skewed. The bolts on my rifle were inspected, returned out of alignment. A mistake maybe. Or not. I fixed it without comment. The whispers started before the warm-up began. One voice louder than the rest. Someone tell her apron strings don't count as a sling. Laughter. Then phones. Then a low theatrical voice. Sniper mom, huh? Kitchen commando reporting for duty. The worst part wasn't the words. It was how familiar they were. Like I'd never left. Then he stepped forward, Travis Cole, last year's champ, the owner's son. He clapped a hand on my shoulder without invitation. That's not how a real shooter holds a weapon, sweetheart. He filmed my first shot. I missed. The video went viral within hours. He captioned it. Sniper mom? More like kitchen commando. 32,000 views before sundown. The comment section buzzed with confidence and cruelty. The kind reserved for people who believe they understand what strength is. I didn't respond. I just kept shooting. I didn't come to Crowfield to prove anything. But sometimes the silence inside you is louder than their laughter. And sometimes that silence is what pulls the trigger. Boise had too many echoes. That's why we left. After Daniel died, the house became a shell. The couch where he read bedtime stories. The garage with his old motorcycle under a tarp. His boots by the door, still upright the day the sheriff came to knock. One slick highway curve, one truck, 1 second too late. He was gone. And I was 38 with 2 kids and too much silence. We moved to Colorado Springs last August. The kids needed air. Lydia started high school. Ben was in 5th grade and still believed I could fix everything. I didn't dissuade him. I got work as a transit dispatcher. Mountain region. 12-hour shifts in a square room where silence meant the roads were still clear, and no drivers needed help. The monotony suited me. No chaos. No questions. Just maps and screens. Most people didn't know about my past. I didn't offer it. I wore no veteran pins, kept no decals on the car. My rank was packed away in a cedar box beside Daniel's folded flag. They had buried him with honors. I had stood straight for that. Even after the minister mispronounced our last name. At home I was just mom. Until Lydia asked. It happened on a Tuesday night, late September. She'd found an old photo, me in fatigues, crouched low in a mountain pass, rifle slung across my back, face streaked with sun and dirt. You never told us, she said. I shrugged. Nothing much to tell. You were in Task Force Greyhawk. That's the patch, isn't it? I froze. She was too smart for her own good. How do you know that? Internet. Of course. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. You used to shoot? Like, compete? Years ago. You should do it again. I laughed. The first time in weeks. Sweetheart, those days are behind me. You do everything for us, she said. Homework. Meals. Fixing the sink. I've never seen you do anything that's just yours. That stuck. I didn't sign up for the Crowfield event out of pride. Or nostalgia. I did it because one night, alone in the kitchen, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. I missed the stillness of the range. The moment just before the shot, when everything disappears except your breath and the space between. So I registered online. Local club. Low-stakes event. Paper targets at 100 yards. One afternoon. I didn't tell the kids until the morning of. You nervous? Lydia asked. No, I said. But I was. I wore the same boots I'd worn in Afghanistan. My palms remembered the grip. My shoulders still held the memory of recoil. But memory doesn't shield you from mockery. Not when they see only a woman with tired eyes and a quiet demeanor. They don't see the kill house hours. The heat. The wind calls. The 52 confirmed marks. They see someone they've decided doesn't belong. And once that happens, they don't have to listen anymore. From the moment I stepped onto the range that morning, they made it clear I wasn't wanted. It wasn't open hostility. That would have been easier. It was the kind of derision people think they can get away with because it hides in tone, in posture, in shared looks. The way someone hands you a clipboard like they're doing you a favor. The way a name is read with a smirk. Evelyn Carter. Competitor 27. They gave me a rifle mat that hadn't been cleaned. The sandbags were underfilled. The spotting scope lens was smudged and cracked. Nothing I couldn't fix, but everything I noticed. Still I said nothing. I lay prone, adjusted my cheek rest, and zeroed the rifle in silence. I measured wind drift through the tree line beyond the berm. Factored in temperature drop. Focused on breath rhythm. My first group was tight. Not perfect but solid. The second group was tighter. But each time I got up, a new comment trailed behind me. Nice grouping. For someone who probably still uses a crock pot. Don't worry. She'll warm up once she figures out how to use a real gun. By the third round, they started calling me Sniper Mom to my face. One of the judges, gray-haired, thick glasses, probably hadn't fired in years, announced over the PA. Shooter 27, please review proper prone stance. Your left leg looks like it's lounging. Laughter. Always laughter. I kept my eyes forward. Then came the break. The snack bar buzzed with energy. Greasy chili dogs, warm cola. Club jokes told too loud. Travis stood on a folding chair, holding court like a boy king in a paper crown. All right, folks, he called out. Let's give our guest a chance to prove herself. He pointed at me. One shot. You against me. Closest to dead center. If you win, I'll apologize in front of the whole damn club. If I win, you admit you don't belong here. The room roared. Phones went up again. Someone shouted. You're doing her a favor, Cole. Don't crush her too hard. I didn't move. Just watched him. I accept, I said. It got very quiet. He blinked surprised. Then he grinned like a man who thinks he's already won. Better bring your best shot, sweetheart, he said. This ain't your soup kitchen. They cleared a lane. Lane 1. Center line. The whole room gathered around. Even the kitchen staff stepped out. People positioned cameras. Someone actually rang a handbell. Travis shot first. Steady. Confident. Almost center. There were cheers. Fist bumps. He waved at the crowd like a man throwing a pitch in the bottom of the ninth. Then I stepped forward. The rifle I brought was good, but not for this. And that's when I felt a presence behind me, solid still. Hank. He stepped from the shade near the tool shed. In his hands a rifle. It was older. Wooden stock, rich with oil and time. Custom optics. Tuned trigger. He offered it to me without a word. His eyes told me everything I needed to know. Respect given not through praise but through silence. I nodded once, took the weapon, and walked to the line. The range hushed as I settled into the prone position. The rifle fit against my shoulder like an old friend. Smooth action. Tuned resistance. Hank hadn't just handed me a weapon. He'd given me trust. In this place that meant more than anything. I adjusted the cheek weld. Felt the balance of the stock against my forearm. A light breeze cut across the field. I read it out of habit. 3 miles per hour left to right. I could hear Travis breathing behind me. Still loud. Still sure. The crowd leaned in. But I wasn't at Crowfield anymore. I was back in the Hindu Kush. November 2008. Top of a ridge at dawn, clouds hanging low over a ravine. A convoy was pinned below. Enemy spotters had set up just past the eastern slope. I had 2 rounds. Wind at 7. Uphill shot. Elevation correction. No margin. My hand steadied. I pressed the trigger. Now, the shot cracked across the range. Sharp. Controlled. I lifted my head. The judges moved in. One knelt. Another leaned close, holding up a small spotting scope. I stood, waiting. It didn't take long. Dead center, the senior judge said. Split the X. No applause. Just silence. Phones dropped to hips. A few murmured. Then someone whispered. She's wearing a unit ring. Another voice. What's that emblem? Hank stepped forward. Just once. His voice quiet. Clear. She was Task Force Greyhawk. A beat. Someone gasped. Someone else swore under their breath. Travis turned. Wait, you're Major Carter? I nodded. I watched his face shift. Something dropped out of him, not fear. Not embarrassment. Just wait. Recognition. He stepped forward. Took off his cap. Held it in both hands. I'll record the apology myself, he said. And he did. On camera. In front of the target. No cuts. No edits. My name is Travis Cole, he said. I mocked someone I didn't understand. Major Evelyn Carter served this country with honor I'll never reach. I'm sorry. To her, to the club, and to anyone who's ever been dismissed without cause. That video went viral too. But this time no one laughed. The next week, Travis showed up early to clean the mats. He didn't make an announcement. Didn't bring a phone. Just swept the lanes, replaced worn targets, and refilled the chalk bins. I watched from the bleachers. Not because I doubted him, but because I knew what transformation really looked like. It never starts with words. Starts with work. That Saturday, he handed me a folded flyer. Mia wants to learn, he said. Mia. My niece. 11. Doesn't talk much. Asked me if you'd teach her. I unfolded the paper. Beginner's match, local youth group. Her name was printed in small, careful handwriting. She wants to shoot like the lady from the video. I looked up. Travis wasn't smiling. Just waiting. I'll take her Tuesdays, I said. He nodded. No more needed. By the end of the month we had 15 kids. Boys, girls, a few teens with headphones and downcast eyes who barely spoke until they fired their first clean group. The clubhouse changed slowly. The laughter softened. The tone shifted. Hank gave us access to the gear locker. Travis repaired the spotting scopes himself. The same men who had once laughed behind their phones now volunteered to set up steel plates at sunrise. The plaque went up without anyone asking. Near the entrance, mounted in simple wood. Dignity isn't earned by shouting. It's carried quietly. There was no name beneath it. No need. Mia took her first bullseye in week 3. She didn't grin or shout. She just looked back at me and nodded. One small certain motion. She hadn't said a full sentence in front of the group yet, but she spoke in posture, in presence. I understood that language better than most. After practice, she lingered, polished the rifle without being asked. I showed her how to oil the bolt, how to test the zeroing knob without over-rotating. You were in the army? She finally asked. Yes. Did you ever have to shoot someone? A long pause. Yes, I said. She looked at the ground. Did you feel bad? I knelt beside her. I felt human, I said. And lucky I didn't have to do it more. She didn't ask more. Just nodded again. The way she always did. The club's main room, once plastered with old photos of trophies and past champions, now held something else. Cork boards covered in pin targets. Youth group shots crooked but proud. Messages scribbled beside them in marker. First time under 3 inches. Didn't quit. Hank put up a display near the back wall, old military patches from different units. One belonged to a man named Cho who served in 91. Another from Garcia, a Marine vet who used to sweep the parking lot without speaking to anyone. He showed up last week with his service medals in a Ziploc bag and asked if they could maybe belong to someone again. Even the regulars stayed quiet when they passed that wall. It didn't look like much. But to those of us who'd been unseen for years, it was more than display. It was a reminder that silence could speak. On the first warm Saturday of spring, the club held its youth open shoot. Families lined the fence. Lawn chairs unfolded like petals along the gravel edge. Travis called out names over the loudspeaker, not with bravado, but with clarity and pride. The kids rotated through stations. Spotters guided. Recorders logged scores. Parents clapped at every shot, perfect or not. Mia stood at lane 5, hands steady, eyes sharp. She wore a borrowed cap. It hung low over her ears. I recognized the way she settled her shoulders, calm, straight, prepared. She fired 3 rounds, grouped within a 1/4 inch. She didn't smile. She just turned, met my eyes, and tilted her head, seeking confirmation. I gave her one nod. She knew what that meant. Travis stood off to the side, clipboard in hand. He didn't speak much during the event. Just watched. Carried equipment. Refilled water jugs. When parents asked questions, he pointed them to me. Not because he couldn't answer. Because he understood who should. Later, as the crowd thinned and folding chairs collapsed into trunks, he stayed behind. Helped Hank lock the rear door. When the last student left, he lingered by the ring of parked cars. He approached slowly. Uneasy. He held out a sealed envelope. What's this? He scratched the back of his neck. The club's board met. Voted to create a training division. Wanted to ask if you'd had it. I didn't reach for the envelope. He added, no cameras. No press. Just work. Your way. I looked out at the field. The target still swayed in the breeze. The casings glittered faintly on the gravel like old coins. What changed your mind? I asked. He shifted, uncomfortable. I watched that video again, he said. The one of you shooting. I said nothing. And the way you stood before the shot, he continued. I realized I've never seen someone that still. Like the world couldn't touch them. I finally took the envelope. Tucked it into my jacket. That stillness doesn't come easy, I said. It's carried. He nodded. I want to learn how. I turned to leave. From behind he called out, thank you. Not loud, but full. The kind of thank you that lives deeper than apology. Weeks passed. Then months. We added classes. Weekend drills. Hank upgraded the range timers. Travis repainted the rifle racks. The old trophies were moved to a small side cabinet. In their place, framed photos went up. Students mid-stance. Girls with steady hands. Boys with braces grinning over small groupings. Crowfield had become something else. Not loud. Not flashy. But better. At home, Lydia studied me more closely now. Not as the woman who folded laundry and managed bus schedules. But as someone else too. Someone steady. Capable. Whole. One evening after dinner, she brought her laptop to the table. I wrote about you, she said. For what? College application. Personal statement. I opened the file. The first line read, my mother is the quietest person in any room, but she always hits her mark. I didn't cry. I just read it twice. Then I closed the laptop and kissed her forehead. You're going to be all right, I said. She didn't doubt it. Neither did I. Hank retired that summer. Left his keys in my hand with one nod. No speech. No farewell party. Just quiet respect. The kind that never needs applause. He left behind one note, taped to the inside of the rifle case he'd once loaned me. For the ones who carry more than they show. Make space for them. I have. And I will. Every day. On the drive home one evening, just as the sun settled low behind the ridge, Lydia turned to me from the passenger seat. Can I ask you something? Of course. She stared out the window for a moment before speaking. Why didn't you just tell them who you were? That first day. Why not just say it? The engine hummed beneath us. The tires whispered over gravel. Because I shouldn't have to, I said. She looked at me. Quiet. Waiting. I've worn the uniform. I've done the work. That should be enough. I shifted gears as the road curved. If I need to announce my worth just to be treated with decency, then it's not decency they're offering, it's performance. And I'm not here to perform. Lydia was still for a while. Then she smiled. Small. Knowing. I get it. I nodded. Good. She leaned her head against the window and closed her eyes. The wind pressed against the car like water. Outside, the pine trees blurred past. Inside, silence held. Not the silence of fear. The kind that comes after a truth is spoken. The kind that lingers because there's nothing more to say. At home, I tucked away my rifle. Locked the cabinet. Turned off the lights. The house was still. But I wasn't alone in it. I poured tea. Sat at the kitchen table. Watched the night settle in. The world had changed. Not because I'd shouted. Because I had stayed. Because some things don't need to be proven. Only carried. And I carry them still. Every step. Every shot. Every time someone says I don't look the part. Dignity isn't given. It's kept. Quietly. Relentlessly. Until one day someone sees it. And never forgets.